For this next example, we're going to look at another type of evaluation that we can do using Dynamo, and that is, rather than just kind of looking at the Dynamo geometry and computing values within the Dynamo environment, thinking about how we can actually tie into some existing external analysis packages and pull values back from those analysis packages as we take a look at different potential building forms. So in this example, we're going to take a look at one that's sort of built into Revit that we can pull some values out of, and that's one that's all about evaluating the solar potential, or the insolation that's available on different surfaces of the building form. And we can take a look at either the cumulative insolation or the peak insolation or the average insolation, but it's a nice built-in function. Some people use it directly within Revit, but we can also access it here within Dynamo to go through and compute some values and use those as an evaluation of the form to say, what kind of forms have the best insolation or the best solar potential? Okay, the basic workflow is going to be very similar to what we've done in the past. After we set up the basic model in steps 1 through 3, we're going to define that evaluation function in step 4. In this case, it's going to be very much based on solar radiation. Then we're going to, in step 5, integrate it into our testing loop, and then finally report some values out. So let's just give you a sense of what this model is going to look like. Here we have a model of, it's like kind of a little small city center here. We have a little sloping roof form here in the center. That's going to be the element that I'm interested in doing some deforming. And I have some adjacent buildings, and these adjacent buildings all have different surfaces. The ones that you see kind of highlighted in orange, those are ones that I designated as being potential shading surfaces. So if the sun's coming from the south side, you can see south is kind of over in this direction, that those might be shading the building, and we want to consider the effect of those on the form. Okay, so that's the basic model in terms of the logic. You're going to see that we'll again start with, I'm going to push that over a little bit, the whole notion of the basic loop, the way we usually set it up in terms of creating the values and the list map to go through and test those values. Although we're in our new custom node, what we're going to do is basically implement some logic, which basically sets up a solar analysis. There's going to be some steps about kind of gathering the time and the weather of the analysis, specifying something about the grid spacing we're going to use, and are there any shading surfaces. A lot of setup to get the solar analysis right. But then once we do that, there's pretty much a node called Solar Analysis Analyze that we're going to use that'll compute some values. And then we're just going to do some summarizing of all those different values. We're going to kind of calculate all sorts of different summary value, or all the different insolation values for different points, and kind of add them together kind of based on their area into a total insolation score. Okay, so that's an overview of what we're going to do in this example. Let's go ahead and get started.